Hey, Bobby. Michael
Mike?
Grange from Sportsnet. A lot. How does it feel to be home, and what are some of the benefits that you've observed so far from not here?
I mean, I'm sure, a lot of us, will have the same message. We're all happy. We're really, it feels great to be back here. I think, the last 18 months for all of us were, incredibly tough. But I think just being away from here and the daily life of, living in Toronto, being in Canada, I think we're all really excited. We chose to have training camp here. In the past we've been, in Vancouver and different parts around the country. We thought it was really important to reestablish, our base here, get everybody familiar with the city. A lot of our players haven't been here. A lot of our staff haven't been here. And so we thought it was really important for us to do that.
Bobby, hi. Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, behind the mask. You guys spent a year away, playoffs the year before in the bubble, had to sacrifice so many things to get through the season. Are you now disappointed by what you see around the NBA, by the state of, seems to be the players' anti-vaxxing approach to the league, considering how much this franchise and your players have had to give of themselves?
Listen, I think the NBA has been incredibly, progressive and at the forefront of a lot of this. And so whether it was the bubble and, the daily testing, I know there are a group of people that are choosing not to be unvaccinated, but I think the percentage of NBA players and staff is really high, in comparison to other groups. So I don't view it so much that way. I view it more as, we're continuing to push the envelope. We're continuing to educate everybody. You can probably imagine the conversations we had internally with people who may have been hesitant at first, and a lot of it was education and supporting them. So I think we'll continue along that path.
Hey, Bobby. Eric Corrine, The Athletic. Pascal had surgery, I believe, in July. Can you give us an update on his status?
Yeah, so he's been working out. He's been in OVO, doing a lot of one-on-one workouts. I don't think he's clear for contact yet, but he looks good. I think, I'm sure you'll talk to him later today. He's in a really, positive, good headspace. I think he's happy. He's ready to go, and I think he's looking forward to getting back to, form.
Hey, Bobby, Kayla Gray, TSN. Now that you think about it, Fred, Pascal, Chris, those are guys that really know development. That's something that you guys have emphasized with them. And now that they're kind of the oldest guys in the group right now, what does that say about your franchise, and especially how much does it excite you with the new guys coming in?
Yeah, it's really important. I think towards the end of last season, and as we were preparing for some changes this year, obviously with Kyle leaving, we wanted to set that stage and not only understand the development of their play on the court, but off the court, and so their leadership. And so I think, something that we'll see over the course of this season is, can they step into, bigger kind of roles on the court, but off the court. And so it's something that we focus on with all of our young players. And, Chris is a great example. Chris is probably, rose quicker than most. And so now, we were watching practice the other day, and I was like, Chris Boucher's a veteran on this team now, right? He's kind of been through it. And so, now it's time for Chris to start imparting some of that knowledge and influence on some of the younger guys.
Hey, Bobby, it's Doug again. Just got one more. I know Goran will speak to us later on. And in your conversations with him, how have you felt he's going to fit in? Because, frankly, on a team that's built for a couple years out, a 35-year-old point guard may not be something you need or want. I just wonder how you see that situation playing out.
Sure. Goran's been a professional ever since the trade. And I don't know, kind of where things got sideways, but he's been up in Toronto the past 2 weeks. He's been working out with our guys, being a mentor, showing that he can still play. And I'm sure when you all get a chance to talk to him, you'll get a sense of that as well. But, he is one of the elder statesmen, but he can still play, and I think he can still lead, and we'll need a little bit of that this year.
Hey, Bobby, Ryan Walstad, Toronto Sun. Obviously, the last few years have been pretty clear what the goals are, championships and competing and everything. And you and Messiah have talked about where things are going a little bit with this group, but how do you define a successful season? What are you guys trying to do this year?
It's a good question. I think, we're not going to label anything, but I think our expectations are always to win, to be competitive, to hold our guys accountable, to make sure they're learning to play the right way. And so with a number of new faces, and that'll be top of mind again. But I think there is a core that has won. There's a core that's been in the league a decent amount of time, and so it'll just be fitting the pieces around those players. So yeah, we expect to compete every night, and I think we'll surprise a few people too.
Hi, Bobby. Raphael Guillemette, Radio Canada. Speaking of players stepping into bigger roles, Pascal came out in a New York Times interview saying that he wasn't maybe not trusted as the man last year. Maybe it was more Kyle's team. Now with Kyle gone, do you expect him to be the man? Is he tagged as this in Toronto?
I think we'd all have to probably define what you mean by the man. But listen, having Kyle, he'd been here for a long time. He operates and he leads in a certain way. I think Pascal had a lot of flexibility on the court, but it was a tough year for him, right? Going through a number of the things he went through, COVID, obviously being away from home. But yeah, we fully expect Pascal to be back to the form that I think we all saw, I guess, in the 1920 season.
Hey, Bobby. Michael Grange from Sportsnet. I mean, in the bigger picture, what would you say the plan is here, if you could articulate it in terms of what stage are you at towards being a contender, towards being where you've been before as a championship level team?
It's a good question. I think, if you think back, obviously we're building to always have a championship team, right? So your kind of question is on point, which is where are we along the path? And I think sometimes it's hard in the moment to know where you were, right? If you think back to 2014, 15, 16, right? We were somewhere along that path. I think sometimes we lost in the first round, sometimes we lost in the conference finals, but it wasn't necessarily linear. And so I think, maybe back to Ryan's question, I think the competitive part is really important to us. And, we'll experience this season like you all, and I'm sure we'll win some games we weren't supposed to, and we'll lose some games we weren't supposed to. But I think we feel like the trajectory of the team is on the climb, and we feel like we have some interesting pieces. And if one or two or three players pop, then maybe we're in a different group.
Hey, Bobby. Stephen Lung, Sportsnet. Masai mentioned, like when we last spoke to him, how playing in Tampa set the franchise back a few, like a year, number of years. I was just wondering, how do you, using this season, kind of make some of that ground back and maybe spring yourself forward to the track that you guys want to be at?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going back all in on Toronto. I think we all know this is a great city. It's a great organization. It's a great place to play. And, our ability to retain a lot of players over the years, I think, is represented by the fact that they love playing here. And so, a few of the players we had last year who haven't been here, I think that's really important for them. It's important for the Freds and Pascals, the OGs, to, really reconnect back here, because I think it's a really strong, relationship and bond that we all have with the city and with the country. And so I think that's what, is super important for us, as opposed to being away and not being able to live in Toronto.
Hi, Bobby. Aaron Rose, SI.com. Rebounding was an issue for your team at times last season. You didn't add much height this offseason. Why do you feel like that might not be an issue? How do you feel like that's been addressed?
Yeah, I think the style of play is a little different, and so I think overall the rebounding wasn't great last year, but I think if you look towards the last, third of the year, I think we were pretty good. So I do think it helps having someone like Kem, and it helps having maybe a more active, mobile big man, and it helps some of the other guy rebound. So I hear the point about having the traditional big man who rebounds, but I think it's obviously a team effort, and so everyone blocking out their man, I think, is probably the best way to do it.
Hey, Bobby, Ian Harrison with AP. Just to follow on Steven's question, you guys had home games on your schedule last year, but I suspect you probably don't feel like you played any. What do you think it's going to mean to your team to be on this court with Raptors fans in the stands?
I think we're all waiting for it, when they run out, even in the preseason game, but even on opening night. the amount of support, even, being back in the city here this past month, I've, you just notice the amount of Raptor fans on the street and Raptors, memorabilia and apparel. So if my sense is correct, I think it'll be a pretty good atmosphere.
Is there a distinct competitive advantage that you might get from being here?
I think we always feel like we have, one of the best fan bases in the league. So I fully expect that to, be back in our pocket this year.
Hey, Bobby, I'm Katie Heindel with Dime. So we talked a little bit about guys stepping into leadership roles this season and how important that is. But I'm curious how you balance that with the development for not just Scotty and Delano, but for the new faces that you added last year in Tampa as well.
Yeah, it's something I think we've preached for the past, 5-6 years that we've been here, is how do you win and develop at the same time. And so I think we have some examples in the past. Fred was that young guy. Pascal was, playing in the 905. Chris Boucher was there. So I think it comes from both. Obviously, we have to talk to the young players, develop them, have them understand what are our values, but also it has to come from some of the players who are veterans now who had just been through that experience. And so I think we lean on them as well in the locker room, on the plane, on the road, to also, be models and be examples for those young players.
Hey, Bobby, Sean Woodley, Raptors HQ. I'm curious about OG. It was kind of a stop and start year for him last year with injury, COVID, but we still saw a lot of growth. I'm curious what you think of his sort of breakout potential this season with a full season of action and presumably a bigger role within the team.
Yeah, it's good. We're all looking forward to OG. I think probably after the trade deadline, we saw him, kind of have a bigger offensive role, but also the same expectations on the defensive end. So watching him early here in camp, I think he's continued to expand his offensive game. So I think people will see that. And so, our message to him is continue to expand the offensive stuff, but, keep the defense at an all-NBA level. And he'll get also a chance here early with Pascal being out for a little while. So it'll be a good chance for him to be in a bigger role.
And do we have anything else for Bobby here? We'll do our last question with Steve unless we have something else.
Hi, Steve Simmons. You've had a chance now to see Scotty in Summer League. You've had a chance probably to see him in training. With camp about to begin and preseason or whatever, where do you see him fitting in to start, and where do you see him developing through the season?
Yeah, so I think I spoke after maybe one of the Summer League games. I think we saw on display all the good and the bad from Scotty, and so over the course of the season, I think we'll continue to see that. So on the defensive end, obviously the versatility, be able to guard multiple positions, be disruptive. And then on the offensive end, I think, you saw the IQ, the feel for the game, the passing. I think the scoring, it'll be interesting to see what, kind of becomes his go-to move early. But I think the defense, the intangibles, the leadership, the kind of emotion that you see, that's all there. And then sort of on the offensive end, we'll see where he fits in with the vets.